This guy is nuts. Is he really making daily recordings of his possible divorce and releasing it as a podcast? They both cheated on each other? She's making 6 figures and still doesn't contribute to any joint endeavors financially? Why is she still with him? Why is he still with her? I can't wait for the next episode. This helps me be a better wife. So this is how men think. I hate my husband less now. I understand my wife more now. These are some of the listener comments to the Divorce Diaries podcast. All over the map, I know. These anonymous accounts of events should resonate with anyone that has been married, is married, or is preparing for marriage, and helps couples avoid pitfalls as they might prepare for marriage. Entire seasons are released on Patreon weeks before anywhere else. At Divorce Diaries Podcast Patreon page. Link in description. Now for today's episode.
My ex and the taxes. I think I may have recorded this one, but in case I didn't, it's always good to tell a story twice. One of the reasons that I know I need to get a divorce, I'm happy that we're going through the process of getting a divorce, and I'm extremely happy is because of my soon-to-be ex is just a liar, and here's how. So in 2021, we lived together, all of us and the kids, until July of 2021. And then my daughters lived with her because I kind of abruptly left. And then in February of 2022, that's when my youngest came to live with me, and she's been with me ever since. And as I record this, it's May 4th. Cinco de Mayo is tomorrow. It's very funny. We spoke about taxes, and we always were married filing jointly. I always did the taxes, and how did my ex repay me this year? She claimed both. And I'm like, well, we agreed that makes sense. I take one, you take the other. They both live with us for more than half the year. And then, yes, they just lived with you for the second half, but I still took care of them with you and still paid for a bunch of stuff for them. So, to take my entire year, like that doesn't make any sense. I'll just take one, you take the other this year, and then I guess we'll work out 2022 and beyond. And she's didn't say okay, but she didn't say no. And I love when people do that now. I listen very closely now to what people don't say, and I watch very closely to things people don't do. If they don't call you back, they don't want to talk to you. If they don't return your text, they didn't want to. We all know, as my cell phone sits here comfortably on my left thigh, it's right next to me, my cell phone. It's always with me. It's kind of like my skin, my hair, my nails, my phone. It's always with me. And my soon-to-be ex didn't say a word about when I said, well, you take one, I take one. Didn't say anything. I didn't notice it until later. And when I filed, I just filed, and I took just one kid, the one that's living with me, filed for her, and said, oh, no, this child has already been claimed. And I'm like, what? How's this child already been claimed? It's like, yeah, this child's already been claimed. I'm like, wow. And the IRS sent me a bill, $1,000 I owe them now, $1,000. And didn't say anything to me. I didn't call her, didn't say a word to her. I'm just like, this is you. And I'm glad to know it, I'm glad to have it. I mean, my God, I think about all of the unhappy marriages that I do know about. I think about the unhappy marriages that I'm now exiting. I think about the guys that I know that are about to enter into matrimony, and they are going to be unhappy because they haven't figured it out, and they're in this puppy dog love phase that they don't really understand that they're in. And they weren't actually the most introspective people to begin with. So one good friend who is not married and a good bit older at this point, not older, but some people are getting married like right out of college, and they're like 25 or something like that. Nah, this guy's well older than that, and he's like he puts it, he's enlightened and ruined because he understands and he accepts the truth, sometimes the uncomfortable truth of how the fair sex can operate. And he knows that unless the person is making all the right noises, all the right sounds, there's no point in being with that person, not at all. So I too am enlightened and ruined. I'm enlightened because I know that if there's a really grimy and disrespectful thing my ex could do, she's going to do it. If she is given the opportunity to educate me and say, hey, actually we're going to, I feel that I should claim both kids and you shouldn't. Well, why do you think that? Well, I think that because of this and that. No, she won't do that because that would be right. She's going to just do it. Say, ha, I'm claiming them. Done. And not say a word. So it's okay. I am divorcing this person and should be, by the end of 2022, I should be divorced. It should be it. It should be a wrap. And I will feel amazing about this. I was served in December. So hopefully I can be divorced very soon. In fact, I have a meeting with my lawyers tomorrow to see about a settlement but I know that if I call her, and this is why I'm enlightened, I am not going to call her and say, hey, would you like to try to settle? Because if she knows that I want it, she's going to go against it. So if my legal team reaches out to her legal team and say, hey, you guys were talking about a settlement, do you want to propose an offer? And they'll do that, then I can evaluate, and I'm like, oh, look at what they want. Okay, let's see what we can do. Because I could say, yeah, let's do it. Whatever. I don't know. I'll be able to actually take some action there. But if it comes from her side and she feels like it's her idea or she feels like she's hurting me or getting over, then that's the best thing. Because the sooner I can be divorced from this woman and have our custody agreement straight, we're done. We are absolutely done. So I'm really looking forward to that. I can't wait. But I'm sad. I'm sad for my daughter. So my daughter was asking me this really cool question. I'm over at the clubhouse in my community recording this. But I always, I usually come like maybe 15, 20 minutes after I put her in bed. But I tell her, I'm like, hey, I'll be over at the clubhouse. And I'll have my cell phone. Just give me a call if you need me. But I'm going to go and record. And I don't want to record here, because I'll wake her up. And sometimes I talk a little bit louder. So as I'm leaving the room, she's like, hey, Dad, what does it mean when a boy hugs you? Or what does it mean when a boy hugs you? But she said it in a way like, what does it mean when a boy hugs you? She kind of said it like that. It was like a long thing, like she's trying to tell me something in code. And I'm like, immediately, I'm thinking erection, right? I'm like, what do you mean? What does it mean when a boy hugs you? She said, well, it was kind of weird when he hugged me. And I'm like, okay, it's kind of weird. Weird how? Well, I mean, when he hugged me, it was weird. So what does it mean? And I'm like, still thinking erection. So does that weird thing happen like when I hug you or something? And she's like, well, no, it just, when he did. And I'm like, shit, erection. I'm like, well, when he hugged, okay. Explain to me about what you mean by weird. She's like, well, I mean, just that he decided to do it. I mean, it seemed weird that he decided to. And I said, oh, well, did you see him hug anyone else? No, I didn't. I'm like, okay, well, and because she just started school. And she's at a new school because she moved with me in February. And but I let her go continue with her online education for a little while. And then it's just she needs friends, she needs peers. So going back to school. And she's like, well, is he hugging me because I'm new or is he hugging me for another reason? So she's clearly starting to understand that, one, she is attracted to boys, or she's noticing that she's attracted to boys, and he's clearly showing that he's attracted to her. So it was not an erection, thank God, but she is trying to now grapple with her feelings. And we just had a physical appointment today. So when we were there, the doctor, she's like, yeah, do you want to stay in the, do you want your dad to stay in the room while I examine you? And I just immediately get up and I'm just like, nope, you got it. Cause I took her to her last physical, and I always leave the room when they start talking about the girl stuff. I don't want to make her feel uncomfortable. She's already uncomfortable enough with this doctor, but no, daddy's a man, and daddy doesn't see your private parts or know that your private parts are being examined. I'll be out here waiting. And so when I came back, she said, yeah, I asked her when did her breast start to develop, and she said about at this age. So, she'll probably get her period between 1 to 2 years after that. And I noticed that she did she's on a growth spurt and blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, yeah, she is on a growth spurt. She is eating me out of house and home. And, but that's okay. And so I think that might have had something to do with it, because said the hug happened, and the hug happened on the field trip that was last week. And I'm joking with her like, well, what the hell are you waiting to tell me about it for? Like, you telling me about it like 5 days after the damn field trip. This has obviously been on your mind, and you just, yeah, okay, you're just telling me now, huh? I like just busting her balls and just, making her laugh, making a little bit of fun of her. So, yeah, it's funny because I totally forget all the points that I was making, but, enlightened and ruined. Well, you guys got to hear a funny story that happened. Oh yeah, taking my soon-to-be ex for what she is, and my daughter said, I don't mind hugs from people, and I said, okay, but did you want to hug him back? She said yes, and I said, okay, that's fine, but it's also fine if you didn't want to hug him back, and in fact, someone shouldn't just feel that it's okay to just do that with you. It's okay to set boundaries and make sure that they're enforced, because you may just want to ask him like, hey, I see that you want to hug me, but wow, what's up? Why do you want to hug? And he could say, oh, well, I really like you, baby cakes. And I joked around with it. I'm like, okay, so he clearly likes my daughter. I should kick his ass. And she busted out laughing, and I just gave her a wry smirk that a dad gives, just letting his daughter know that I love you, girl. And I'm going to protect you from anybody that wants to harm you. And it's okay that you like boys. I'm glad you like boys. And you should like boys. And you're a pretty little girl. That's what I'm thinking. They're going to like you too. So I just told her in other words, I'm just like, it's okay. And it's okay if you want to give hugs. And I can totally understand why he would want to hug you. So that's just, I'm glad that my daughter is, in a way, not like my soon-to-be ex in that way. And she's obviously on her mind, which is why I'm sad, because she says, yeah, I pretty much would hug anybody if they hugged me. And she quickly says, except mom. I'm like, just thinking to myself, except mom. I used to dive on the train tracks in front of that train every time my kids would say something terrible about their mom. They were right every time, but I didn't want them to feel that way about their mom. I didn't want them to think that way about their mom. I didn't want them to internalize any hate toward any of their parents. So I always just try to mend things and put them back together, and try to get my wife to open up and receive my kids when they wanted to say something to her, and encourage my kids to go and talk to her, because I'm like, we're your parents, and we want the best for you. But unfortunately, my soon-to-be ex is not that same way. She will bore a lie, raise that lie, nurture that lie, propagate that lie, reinforce that lie, and never deny that lie. So it's hard to hear my daughter say those things about her mom. But she's totally right for what she's doing, because she is going to protect herself from the toxic mother that she has. And I'm not saying it because I'm mad. I'm not saying it because I'm trying to manipulate it into my daughter or anything. My soon-to-be ex is just a bad person with bad motives and a bad heart. I think I'm accepting that. I think Adolf Hitler was married, and I think Harvey Weinstein was married. I know Bill Cosby was married. I think R. Kelly was married also. There's so many bad people, and I'm not, that some of them may have done good things. And Bill Cosby, you know what, actually, let me take him out of it, because there have been people that have corroborated, living people, not from 60 years ago, that said, look, Harvey did say that if I do this, I'll get this part. It's just a bunch of hearsay, which is why Bill Cosby's a free man now. A bunch of hearsay for why Bill Cosby drugging people. From what it sounds like, he partied hard. Women liked partying hard with him. He's the most famous black comedian for a while, a very long time, and extremely rich, extremely connected. I think we've seen it play out in history over and over again, that women want to be with powerful men, no matter what. That will never change. So to hear my daughter know that she has to protect herself from her mom, and now me having to do the difficult thing and not put them back together. I vow to do right by my children, and I don't vow to do quote unquote right by my wife, because what does that mean? Especially as it relates to my kids. If my kids are right, or they want to be heard, and the other person is like, I'm going to shut it down and I'm going to ignore you, then that's that. How could I have married Adolf Hitler? How could I have married such a dark person?
Wow, that was the Divorce Diaries podcast. The Daily Saga will continue tomorrow. The full season's episodes are on Patreon now. Subscribe for early access. Click the Patreon link in the description. Hopefully these entries help our anonymous recorder as a form of his own personal therapy. That's his hope and his intention. Will these recordings of life's curveballs lead this family to the best resolution in the end? We'll keep listening. New episodes are released daily on all podcast players, but all episodes are available on Patreon at Divorce Diaries Podcast Patreon page. Until next time.